Welcome, everybody, to Sports Shorts. Ronnie Rantz, Tommy Krysan. Hope everybody's having a great hump day. We have some topics to get to today. Obviously, the national championship game. We were here on Monday morning when we did our show before Indiana in Miami did battle. So we'll talk a lot about that. LSU basketball is in a terrible spot. They're now 1-5. They got blown out on the road at Florida. They came off of a win against Missouri. Thought, okay, maybe there's some momentum. No, they were a 16-point dog loss by 18 there. So it's getting worse for the Tigers. A couple of new Hall of Famers to get to in baseball. We'll talk about that with Tommy, and we'll give you an update on a five-star recruiting situation that has Lane Kiffin flying all over the country, and LSU rolling out the red carpet for him to try to get him in Baton Rouge. Let's start with the national championship game, Tommy. You and I were both on opposite sides of this. I think we both were right, Miami did end up covering. Indiana's your national champion, 16-0, only the second time in college football history that team's been 16-0. Yale was the first one to go 16-0. But I gotta ask you, TK. It blows my mind that in football, all levels of football, whether it be high school, college, not so much in the pros, but definitely high school and college, that I don't know why we do this, but we would never not put our best player at D line. We would never put our best player at cornerback or safety. Or we would never put our not best player at quarterback or a receiver or whatever. But when it comes to special teams, we're fine with not putting our best player on the field at special teams. We'll put the third string tight end in there on the punt block unit, or we'll put the backup offensive lineman who never plays on on the kick block unit for field goals. But yet 7 points on a punt return or 7 points on a punt block counts just as much as a 15-play, 80-yard drive. But yet somehow we have this sympathy, this soft spot in our heart as coaches to let's put little Johnny in there on punt team, even though he never plays. He's our fourth best tight end, but he just tries so hard. And so it's just punt block. Just put him in there. And special teams cost Miami the national championship. Not just the punt block, which led to 7 points right away, not just the missed kick that hit the upright, but also Tony, receiving a block, a punt, catching a punt at his 2 yard line instead of letting the ball go in the end zone. So he gets tackled for Miami inside the 5, and then of course 3 plays later they're 3 and out. It leads to the punt block. So I mean, like it just is. It blows my mind. And at the end of the day, yeah, Indiana deserved to win that national championship game because they were probably a little more solid on all three phases of the game. But Miami, there's so much Jim Mora woulda, coulda, shoulda. I mean, they end up losing by 6. They obviously threw the pick 6 when they were moving the ball. Through the interception rather when they were moving the ball, and Beck got baited into a bad throw and fell for it. But beyond that, Miami just decimated themselves and special teams on 3 plays.
I agree with you completely. And Indiana's kind of known for blocking kicks, but they didn't have the punt to block on.
Right.
They were in return mode. Okay,
Punt safe. Yeah.
The one guy made the play and got his hand on the football, and I mean that guy had poor effort to try to block that guy. Whatever, it took it for granted. The little things are the big things. And we go back decades with coaches saying special teams are important, special teams are important. Lesson learned from the game this past Monday night to all teams. I don't care if you're in the Southland Conference or where you're at, special teams has to be a priority because it can make a difference. It clearly made a huge difference, all the things you just pointed out this past Monday night. So lesson learned there. You can't take it for granted. Let's put this kid that we told him we'd get him in the game, we'll put him on the punt protector position. Well, no, you can't do that because the other team made the play. So I mean, it was a heck of a football game. I thought Miami tried to get a little chippy to try to get inside the head of Indiana. And it, it busted the lip of Mendoza. That should have been a penalty and a targeted thing. It wasn't. That happens. But, I thought it was a poorly officiated game overall, both ways. I don't think they slanted at anybody. There were a lot of things that you scratch your head like, wait a minute, how about that? But hey, it was a big time game. What I was surprised, you had predicted something different. It was 60-40 Indiana fans. What the hell are the Hurricane fans when you're playing in your stadium? Find a way to get a ticket. Like you pointed out, they didn't have hotel expense or whatever. But somebody told me, all the people in Miami, they're from up north. They're from the Dominican Republic. They're from, Puerto Rico, wherever. And there's not that many Hurricane fans. It's kind of like USC and UCLA and LA. They play a second fiddle. Down in Miami, it's all about the Miami Heat, the Marlins and the Dolphins. And, oh, yeah, by the way, the Hurricane. But playing for a national championship, you think there would have been more people there for the Hurricanes. But hey, Indiana's 16-0. You got to give credit where credit's due. And I'll say this. There's no way on earth that team beats the 2019 LSU team. They played 10 times. LSU wins 9 of those.
Yeah, oh, no question. One last thing on that punt block. You literally had it the rugby style kick. Okay, I'm okay with the rugby style kick, but here's where I'm not okay with the rugby style kick, which where the punter sort of runs outside the pocket and kicks it, and traditionally it has a little more end over end. It'll bounce more when it hits the ground. The problem is that it almost looked like Indiana wasn't expecting the rugby style kick because again, only they rushed 5. Everybody else was dropping. So you only rushed 5, but the end was sort of, it was outside the shoulder of the closest blocker on the line of scrimmage. So okay, he runs around a little bit at the end. To me that reach should have been better. The block should have been better. He should have, he didn't have anybody else. It wasn't like there was 2 options. He only had one option of who to block. And he was a little lazy getting out there, a little slow. The guy beat him. But there's 3 protectors in front of the punter, 3 upbacks, if you will, that are in front of the punter. One of them is a tight end type. That's the guy that totally whiffed. That's the guy who didn't go get him. Again, if you wait for the rush, and they've got a running start, you're standing there 5 yards in front of the protector, there's a chance that even though you block him, he pushes you back into the punter. Instead, again, he was protecting the inside as if the punter was punting traditionally, just grabbing the ball and stepping forward. But this guy is moving to his right. I don't understand how they don't move the protection to the right. You want to obviously protect the leg of the punter. It was so terrible. It looked like a traditional punt unit that was like, oh wait, you're doing rugby style. You're running 5 yards to the right and then punting. Totally disastrous, and that really changed the whole game. And then when you miss the field goal, it's like, okay, well, there's 10-point swing right there that they never overcame. And credit Indiana, they did not allow a point. I mean, Miami moved the ball at will in the second half, but they didn't do anything in the first half. And Indiana deserved to win the national championship. The whole Mendoza debate, we'll talk plenty about it. And I know Joel Davis on Sports Church Radio is not a Mendoza fan. He's made that abundantly clear. Not a fan of his play in college, but not a fan that, oh, this guy should deserve to be a first-round pick and he's going to be a franchise player. This is potentially one of the worst drafts ever for quarterbacks coming out in the NFL, Tommy. I mean, we'll get plenty more into it, but I love Mendoza's skill set and his leadership and his makeup. And he, showed a lot of grit. He was converting those 3rd and 4th downs in the 4th quarter and just kept moving the ball on Miami. Miami had so many chances to get off the field and Mendoza wouldn't allow it. But man, if that's the first pick in the draft, talent relative to his feet and arm and all that, oof. I'm glad we're not the Raiders. I'll take Shuck over Mendoza.
I agree with that 100%. He may prove us wrong, but Joel made some good points in our group text thread, and I mean, there's a lot of things that are good, but there's some question marks that kind of jump out at you. They're in bold print, like, hey, about this, but as far as a competitor and on that fourth down play, they gave their guy the ball, and he made an incredible run and got racked up and found a way to get in the end zone. That was an incredible effort. Great players make great plays when you have to. That was that. But is he, cut out of the mold to be big time in the NFL? If I had to answer it today, I think he'd be like a serviceable backup in the NFL.
All right, so Indiana's your national champion, the first new national champion since the program that's never won a national champion. Your first time national championships, 1996, when the Florida Gators with Steve Spurrier and Danny Werfel won their first national championship in program history. That's a pretty wild. Um, the LSU Tigers are out and about. They have rolled out the red carpet and then some, going after Seton, the 5-star offensive lineman recruit. Have spent a lot of resources, a lot of time. He left Baton Rouge after extending his visit with the meeting with the governor, the whole 9 yards. He left without committing to LSU. Went back to Georgia. Lane Kiffin flew to Georgia, like kind of like to tuck him in at night kind of thing. So LSU, if they do not land this young man, they can hang their hat and say we did everything we could. Clearly, we just didn't write the bigger check. Major League Baseball, Tommy, a couple new Hall of Famers.
Carlos Beltran, an amazing player, switch hitter that really can, played at a high level for a long time. And Andrew Jones, one of my favorite players to watch, a long time with the Braves. 254 career batting average, but he's got 434 home runs. So I think it's the 434 home runs. Plus, he won 10 Gold Gloves as a center fielder. He was he could throw, he covered ground. I mean, both guys get in. Beltran, the whole thing. Remember, the Mets hired him to be the manager, and then when the Astros cheating scandal broke, they fired him before he ever managed the game. So he overcame that. But Beltran, he's a likable. Both of these guys are well liked by their peers, their teammates, their opponents, that whole bit. I'm glad with both of these guys that got in. I think both deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. Very good baseballs for players for a long time.
Yeah, I mean Beltran deserved to be in, no question about it. Probably a little sooner than he got in. What was this? His third try or fourth try, something like that.
It was Jones's 9th time on the ballot, so his clock was ticking.
Yeah, Carlos Beltran. He had over 2,700 hits, over 400 homers, over 300 stolen bases. He's one of only 4 people to do that. And Andrew Jones, I really believe the defense was so exceptional. The 10 Gold Gloves in center field, it was so spectacular. And he played on some good teams and had some big moments. And of course, so they'll join Jeff Kent, who went in December on the veterans pick. So Carlos Beltran, Andrew Jones, Jeff Kent, they'll all be being honored at Cooperstown this summer. But Carlos Beltran, one of the first, I think he might have been the first Marucci signee. Like, he used to be on the side, his image was on the side of the building at Marucci. Like early on, he was either him or Pujols. I know Pujols was partnered with Marucci at some point. But I think Beltran was maybe the first athlete they had, like the first big one, first major leaguer that was, a part of their business type of thing and endorsing them and all that kind of stuff. So happy for him. And yeah, super 20-year pro, really class act type of guy. All right, LSU baseball will have their press conference to kind of kick off their season, 11 a.m. on Friday. I was in New Orleans yesterday for a college baseball luncheon that Ken Trahan and the gang put on over at the Quarterback Club in New Orleans, and this luncheon had all of the college coaches in that hour radius. You had Nichols, Southeastern, LSU, UNO, Tulane represented from the Division I schools. You had Nunez Community College from Chalmette, Delgado represented from New Orleans in the junior college level, and then you had Dillard University, Xavier University, and SUNO, who all have baseball programs and they were represented as well. So it was a really neat luncheon. Ken did a one-on-one interview with each coach for, I don't know, 3 minutes or so each, 3-4 minutes each. And then they had Johnny Giavotella, who's the general manager of the University of New Orleans, a former UNO great, big leaguer. Johnny G's in a general manager position at UNO, and they got $7 million from the state for their athletic program to help update some facilities. Some of that went to baseball, where they have now a turf infield and brand new lights and all that kind of stuff. And Johnny G's helping to raise money and sell tickets, and they have a banquet coming up. Their first pitch banquet's going to be inside the UNO Lakefront Arena Friday night, and it's sold out, Tommy. They have just over 500 people at their banquet. Buck Showalter is going to be the speaker. Johnny G played for him in the big league, so they had a relationship. So, and I know he's recruited like Will Clark and a lot of other folks to be there. And so excited for UNO to try to see if they can. Their facilities look great with the upgrade, and for the future, there's pretty bright. So it was a great luncheon, nice kickoff to the season. And of course, we had a little Rougarou Gumbo Gator talk over there with some of these coaches about getting some of the players to join us this summer. So that's part of why I went. And looking forward. Friday will be here. We'll talk a lot of LSU baseball next week, leading up to February 13th, 2 p.m. LSU at home, opening up against Milwaukee. And TK, I'll be in Kansas City at actually Overland Park, Kansas, right outside of Kansas City, on the 12th. The day before opening day is the College Baseball Hall of Fame induction. And I'm going to fly up there. I'm going to be presenting the Skip Bertman Award, the annual award that is handed out to the Coach of the Year. And LSU Shreveport's 59-0 season is going to get them the Skip Bertman Award. So I'll be up there. I'll fly up there on Wednesday, come back Friday morning to go present that award.
Yeah, back to the UNO baseball. You and I both have ties to that. They were the first team to go to the Division I College World Series for Louisiana. Ryan Maestri, the legend, it was his birthday the other day. I sent him birthday wishes on Facebook. And you were a bat boy at UNO. I competed against some of their great teams in the late 70s and early 90s that was full of major leaguers and great ball players. And Ryan Maestri is an icon. I hope Johnny G and everybody can get behind and elevate that program again. There have been a lot of great stories from UNO baseball. Struggled, I guess since Katrina really, when it decimated their campus and facilities. But I for one hope UNO bounces back strong. And they're in the Southland Conference, which, as we know, is a very good baseball conference. So hey, I hope they can get some good things going.
All right, TK, tell us about Tremonti's as we get out of here.
Well, that means hamburger and fries for $6.99. That's every Wednesday. You can eat it here. You can get it to go. $6.99 for the burger and fries right here at Tremonti's. Of course, they can do all your catering. Crawfish are coming soon. Order online at Tremonti's.com. On behalf of Ronnie Rantz, I'm Tommy Krysan. Like and share this show, whether you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, or X. Like and share this show. Appreciate it. We'll be back Friday morning with another episode of Sports Shorts Daily.